I've got some old scraps of wood that I'm going to be using to make some blanks for some stencils.
Stay tuned and watch us use these essential stencils to make awesome decor and for a giveaway.
So if you watched our Dollar Tree hack, we got this felt from Dollar Tree and we just used it as a stencil template and sprayed the sign on there. And what I'm going to be doing is just tracing this out and cutting this piece of wood out, and then we'll go and spray this design again, but I'll have it be in the shape of a pumpkin. It should be pretty fun. So we've got these fun little stencils. There's 3 to a pack, and we thought it'd be fun to put them on a tiny little cutting board. This is the top of an old dresser that we couldn't salvage, so I'm using the wood because it's really nice oak. Well, all I did was take this plastic cup, found the center, traced it out, and then drew the shoulders on here. I'm going to cut one out, and then I'll use this for a template for the rest of my boards. I'm using a 1 3/8 Forstner bit to drill out the handle portion of the cutting board, and then I'm using my 1x30 belt grinder to just kind of smooth the edges out. Now that they're all cut out, I'm going to round the edges a little bit and sand this old finish off. That way I can get down to the natural wood. Okay, everything is cut out and we are on to the staining.
We're going to use Real Stain number 2. It's all natural, food safe, it's water based. You're going to want to mix it up with warm water, let it sit a few hours, and then you're ready to stain. The nice thing about this stain is that it's all natural and water based, so I don't have to wear gloves, I don't have to worry about it stinking at my house. You do want to shake it if you're doing a project that's long, because it will kind of separate after a few minutes. So we continually shake it while we're working on it, just to make sure we get the pigments. This is Real Stain number 2. It's brown with a hint of gray. Depending on your wood, it will react and look a little bit differently.
So it's going to dry a bit lighter than it's showing on this oak.
But you can do multiple coats to make it darker, and if it's too dark, you can also add more water and make it lighter.
Also, remember when you seal it, if you're doing like a liquid top coat, it will darken that up.
Well, I want to show them too the differences. So this, what wood is this?
So this is just a pine, and these are oak.
All right, so you can see the difference in the color between the pine and the oak. It's going to look more gray on this pine, and it's pulling more warm tones in the oak just because the oak is a warmer wood.
So we've got some really long 5-foot vertical stencils. So this is 7.5 inches, just 3 3/4 is going to be my center. I'm going to mark that out. And then I'm going to run a line right down the center. Okay, now that we have a center line for the stencils, Jamie's just lining it up here because of the way the bats are on here, it wasn't centered on the plastic sheet, so we have to kind of figure that out. That's why we drew the center line.
I'm using the new Paint Pixie brush that's made for stenciling and waxing. It's got a great flat surface, nice stiff bristles. I'm going to be doing the Trick or Treat stencil first. We're using Fairy Chalk Mother in gunmetal. I'm dipping my stencil brush in the paint, and then I'm coming and offloading so that way I don't have too much paint on my brush. And then I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to do a pouncing motion up and down. That way I'm not getting paint underneath my stencil. This brush will work for smaller stencils, but it's really great for this big stencil because it covers those letters in no time. The gunmetal is nice and dark, so one pass and you're gonna get enough paint on there. You won't have to do multiple coats. Now for the big reveal, I'm going to just peel it off in one direction. Ta-da! That stencil brush worked really good to get some nice crisp lines. And the gunmetal is great because it's not as harsh as black, but it's dark and it shows up really well. So we're gonna do the same technique on our cutting boards and our pumpkin, and we'll do one more big long stencil with the Halloween stencil, and we'll show you what it looks like when it's all finished. The next set is a match set. It comes with 6 stencils, and they're all kind of Halloween themed. We're using them on these little cutting boards that Zeb made, and I'm gonna do the same technique using the gunmetal and my paint pixie brush. I think these are gonna go pretty quick since that big sign only took me a couple of minutes. So let's see how fast we can do these. We're using gunmetal, but if you wanted to use orange or black or white, I think that would also be very cute. I just don't want to wash my paintbrush. So I'm using my paint pixie brush with white swan. You can pick this as well as the gunmetal up at jamirayvintage.com. For the stencils, we'll drop a link in the comments there from Essential Stencil. So I'm going to take these off. I've got nice crisp lines. I did go over the edge a little bit, so I'll just take a damp cloth and wipe that paint off, but they turned out pretty cute. This is water-based stain, so I'm actually just going to go super light to get the paint off, and if I accidentally take off some of the stain, I can just rub the stain over it again too.
All right, it's time to do my big pumpkin cutout. All right, let's see how this goes. So I was a little apprehensive doing the felt, but this big brush is having no issues getting down in all of the nooks and crannies of the felt. All right, so we're just gonna soften up this trick or treat so it doesn't look quite so crisp on here. Just got the 220 grit on this. This is just a foam 220, but it's worn out, so I've got new 220 grit sandpaper on there. Time to frame these signs up. So what I'm doing is I've got 2 little spacers here. I'm going to set them up underneath. That'll give me a little lip. That way I'll be able to easily hang these. So I'm just going to make sure this is flush, just kind of feel it with my finger there. And then staple that in. Now my wood isn't uniform, so I've got a little bit of gap there. Not worried about it at all.
I'm using wax to seal these with. You could also use like a liquid top coat or an outdoor sealer. Once this paint cures and the wax cures, as long as it's on a porch, not in like direct wet weather, it'll be fine. I have a little bit of leftover white wax on this and I'm using clear wax. And the cool thing is that when you have a little bit of white wax left over, it gets down into the wood grain and gives you kind of an aged effect on the wood. I want to share a few tips and tricks with you. If you're going to be using DIY paint, it's super pigmented, so if you don't want to get the sanding dust in your finish on whatever's underneath, like if you painted it white or stained it, then you need to seal it and then stencil. In this case, we just stained the base and I was using a white wax anyway, so I wasn't really worried if a little bit of the white dust got on there. With the Fairy Chalk Mother, you're not going to have that because it's not as pigmented and as dusty as the DIY paint.
So these all turned out pretty cool. They didn't take very long to cut these out, maybe an hour or so between cutting them out and stenciling them. It all came together pretty quick once we had everything all in the same place.
The Essential Stencils really make it really quick and easy to do a bunch of signage and a good variety. They've got a really good variety this fall. If you've got a home that you want to decorate, or if you want to make gifts for your friends, or even you've got a store, they're really great value because you can do a lot of work very quickly. So we'll drop that link below if you want to order them. For the paint that we used today and the brushes, we used Fairy Chalk Mother and Gunmetal, which is a really dark gray, very charcoaly. And then we used the DIY White Swan. We also used White Wax and Clear Wax by DIY and the new Paint Pixie Wax and Stencil Brush. All of those you can pick up at jamiray.vintage.com. I like to have signage as well as something else that we stencil because it adds a variety. Sometimes people get too many signs in their decor and it just looks like a sign shop. So when you start stenciling things like totes, or in this case we're using these cutting boards, it just kind of gives a variety so your customers really have something to choose from, or you have a lot to choose from in your home decor. We have 6 stencil sets to give away. 2 of the tall ones. Actually, don't we have 3 of the tall ones?
3 of the tall ones, yeah.
So we have 3 of the tall ones that are fall or Halloween based, and then we've got another couple sets of the fall and Halloween and a set of numbers. So we will be giving away 1 set to each winner. Just need to comment below and we will ship it worldwide.
Make sure you're sharing the video as well. And then on Saturday, September 1st, when we do our live video Saturday night, we'll announce who won on the giveaway. But this video here, comment on this one, and that'll give you a chance to win.
Be sure to hit that notifications button so you don't miss Saturday's live especially, and if you click the drop down and click all, you should get all of our notifications. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.